It's quick art talk time, motherfuckers. And today we're going to talk about 2D versus 3D. You kind of saw it already here. All right. Darek is with me today, as he is part of this as much as I am, of course. And we wanted to talk about this one for a long time, actually, to clear the air about, when 2D and 3D should be used. Is 3D now a must in the industry? Will 2D be completely forgotten? Is 3D the complete and entire future? All these things are kind of, I guess, good to know, for young students, for junior concept artists, for maybe even professionals that, want to find the real balance. What we think is that these are two beautiful tools. We're going to get into it today. And I'm gonna give Darek the word. We're going to also go through one of his works this time to see also his process. This has been a beautiful blockout that he did in what was this, Darek? 3ds Max.
Yeah.
And you rendered it in Octane.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Yeah, Darek, what are your words on it? What do you think about 2D versus 3D? Is 2D becoming a dinosaur? Is 3D something that is, the ultimate future? How do you see it personally, given your experience, man? Because, you got a lot of experience, of course. So.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
I do think that this subject is great to take up. I think it's really important to understand specifics of that and how people can actually, perceive those two techniques, because I call it technique, because in the end, if you design, you can be a 3D designer, you can be 2D designer, but since we come from that artistic side of, designing in 2D, I think it's all really important to know the basics of 3D, for instance, but it's not you can use that just as a replacement. For instance, from my experience, when I have to do architectural designs or environment designs that are heavily based with on the architecture, I definitely would go for 3D blockouts, making 3D 3D sketches, but they should in my case, they usually follow my beforehand made sketches or draft.
Yes.
Because I need to know what I am about to design in 3D or execute in 3D, because when you have specific 2D sketch or 2D design and you want to reinterpret that or just make it in 3D, you will notice that you have to also solve a lot of problems how this building is connected to the ground, or how does it look from a different angle, and all those things that might be just hard to explain on just one 2D shot, right? So this is the great part of 3D, but I tend to see also a lot of 3D based works by people that when the 3D is actually not really important, when it's not really that needed, when you have organic shapes or some landscape, and it's why do you even use 3D? What would you use it for? When you have landscape, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess we talked about it multiple times. I think even if you render a mountain in 3D, you can do that as long as you're planning to do multiple shots or something.
Exactly.
And you have to also to have a layout, and you're thinking about the layout gameplay. But if it's for example, one shot, then I don't know, you can maybe do it in 3D, but it's certainly not a must. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I think it's also a matter of choice, because I see a lot of people go into this trap of I'm gonna use 3D right now, and they tend to they end up doing one shot for a week, and the client will never wait for you to. They want fully detailed keyframes every second or third day.
Yeah.
Then no one's gonna wait for you to take as much time as you would to take for instance for the promotional work, and in normal concept art pipeline. It's not gonna happen. So this is also the time frame, although you might be very fast in it, right? But I see a lot of people are just struggling on a very basic level of like, blocking out 3D elements, and those designs usually are not even really that interesting, like I remember seeing like like some guy just did like this like 3D environment, and it was made like a full like landscape plus some building, but the building was so badly designed, and I was like, okay, I like using this 3D in this manner, like when you kind of combine like architecture with like organic shapes, and this is something that I did here on your screen, but I want this building to be really designed beforehand, so it looks interesting. When I look at it, when it's like our focal point, it needs to look interesting. It needs to be believable. This guy made this design like a very very primitive way, and I see that he has like a good knowledge on 3D, but 2D aspect or design aspect was not existent. So
Yeah, that is what I wanted to cover. So, not to just to make clear to everyone that we are not like bashing 3D in any way. I think it is very much needed, and if you're not
yeah,
learning,
it's industry standard these days,
yeah,
right?
if you're not learning yourself how to use 3D, then you're kind of hurting yourself, because in the end, right now, professionally, you'll have to use it. However, if you think that learning a 3D software will increase your design skills and ability, unfortunately you're wrong, right?
Yes.
It's like mastering drawing skills. It will not necessarily also increase your design skills. So
I think we can give one example, very important one, that when you have, for instance, like 3D kit bash sets,
yeah.
and
Oh
when you
yeah,
have
exactly.
this guy Vitaly, and he was, for instance, designing those parts, and they were really interesting shapes and designs, and he made the robots out of that.
Yeah.
And when someone took it over and used those kit bash sets, and made their own designs, okay, the designs that they made is okay because it's what they came up with, but the parts of it, that detailing, is actually someone else, idea. So
Yeah,
this is
you're
actually,
using you're being actually not a concept designer, I think, but you're being like a concept DJ. Like,
yeah, it's
do
like
you know
it's
like
like
yeah, do you know like it's like the difference between a composer and a DJ. A DJ uses like
exactly,
pieces
yeah,
of songs and mashes it together, increases maybe the speed of the song or slows it down, drops a beat here and there. But a
yeah.
composer, he chops it down into the
Production,
notes,
yeah,
the smaller
process, yeah,
notes, and he's able to come up with whole new symphonies. And
yeah.
I think it's important to be like a composer, like a concept designer that can dig on its own and come up with, from the major shape to the smaller details. I think kit bashing is fine in some solutions, but what if you have to design a mech from, retro 50s, with a completely different design language than the awesome kit bash pieces that Vitaly Bulgarov put on sale for a while ago,
Yeah.
All what I was seeing for a while was Vitaly Bulgarov, basically. And he made an awesome name for himself. But the other guys, I had a feeling they were just, copies of him.
Absolutely. That's a great example. I think that's a great example. And I really like this sort of like a concept DJ. It's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. But no, maybe nothing wrong with it. But in order to be a successful concept designer, you gotta dive into composing, and break it down into smaller pieces.
And the other thing is, the other aspect of it is you can use kit bash elements, like just to, for instance, let's say make your designs or 3D designs extra, like in some elements, like some tiny details. But when you use like a big chunk of that, and you kind of depend on the details that someone else designed beforehand, this is actually, what you mentioned is like a copying that and trying to make something whilst using other person design.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How would you advise newcomers using how would you advise people that are starting with concept art to, with what tools should they start? What should they go first for? Is it like, do they have to start with 3D right away? Is it like a mixture that they have to try out? In general, you don't have to like break it down in topics. Maybe I always say do like studies of real world and start, designing in slow steps. Doesn't matter what tools you use. Along the way, try to make your life easier by using the tools available. Like
let's say there are some people that, for instance, okay, there's one guy who prefers to, for instance, draw. The other guy prefers to, for instance, sculpt, and they might use it with the traditional media, right? So he's drawing on the paper. This guy is sculpting with the clay, and it's already somehow just pointing them out towards the tools, right? So if I want to sculpt, I'm using ZBrush. If I want to draw, I'm using Photoshop. But sometimes in the production pipeline, you will notice that the number of tools are increasing, and other concept artists or your producer or director, they're just gonna drop you into or put you into the sack of like using different tools. It's basically like a new toolbox, right? And you are in this world right now, and you have to somehow start learning, okay, how am I gonna do the blockouts with polygonal modeling? So whether you use 3ds Max, Modo, Blender, Maya, Softimage, Cinema 4D, doesn't really matter. Like I personally tried Maya at the very beginning when I was back in Sony, and I had like a lot of problems because I didn't understand 3D like 4 or 5 years ago at all, like maybe five years ago, yeah. And I was actually,
same here, man.
I was somehow, forced to use polygonal modeling tools, and they had back in the day in a studio that Maya was their main software for this sort of like 3D package, and I couldn't understand shit at the beginning. But Maya wasn't really helping me a lot because it was crashing all the time. Oh. So I couldn't even properly, learn.
Yeah.
And I just heard from the guy who was sitting just right next to me, Geoffrey Arnold, and he was using 3ds Max, and he was like, "Oh, Darek, maybe let's try 3ds Max." Mm-hmm. And I just downloaded 30 days trial. That was on Autodesk website, and I gave it a go. I just tried every day a little bit of that, and then I thought, oh, okay, I can get along with that.
So the entry level was much better, like to
absolutely, like it was reliable. It wasn't really crashing. Yeah. I was watching tutorials every day after work, and I kind of tried to already put it into my workflow back in the day, because it was hard. It was kind of blurry for me. Like I was drawing, I was kind of, I didn't even know properly how to kind of photo bash, like I was all trying to just draw. And my art director came over and I was like, maybe you can just bash these things, because you spend like 5 hours on this drawing and maybe you can speed up. Yeah. So I was like, actually it opened my mind on many fields. Yeah. And one of that was actually, learning 3D. So I learned 3ds Max to the degree that I knew that I can already make a blockouts that are efficient for me and for the production. And after those 30 days, they bought me a full license. So I was using 3ds Max straight away since that point. And I still use it till today, even though you have for now a lot of tools like Blender that's free. I kind of tried Cinema 4D as well. It's all very similar, to be honest. Like when you know the basics or the principles of how to build things in like polygonal modeling, the UI you can get away with. You can really go through that because options are the same. It might be a different way of how you approach them, but the specifics of modeling it's all the same, you know, like you just build with like quads and you have to know what's the vertex, what's the edge and what's the face, you know, those very simple
Yeah.
beginnings. And then you are able to create like a really efficient blockouts that you are not going to be how to say that you don't want to be the slave of your 3D base unless
Exactly.
this
That's a very good point.
yeah, unless this 3D base is heavily dependent on your sketch. So when you have, for instance, this work that you have opened, I did my best to replicate my 2D sketch as much as I can to fit the 3D in. So I didn't need to, you know, I didn't need to like kind of, you know, how to say,
Was this your 2D sketch?
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't need to like somehow, you know, bubble around like how, you know, and what should I paint over later on, because I wanted to do the 3D base as accurate.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, sometimes you have to block out things very fastly, you know, just to kind of establish the composition or the camera angle. So you have the perspective base and you just put the boxes, you know, something that we do at Focal Point.
Yeah.
I might even send you one example what I did for my class last term.
Please
One sec.
do. So, you know, I guess it's a valuable, cool knowledge. So, to ask, you know, what triggered you to go with 3D in this piece? Was it just like, be honest, was it like just, you know, the trendy aspect? Was 3D really needed? How did it help you? You know, because I'm looking at the sketch and, you know, giving you know the knowledge how you usually work, because I know you for like 35 years. I know that you'd be able to finish this piece in 2D as well, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
come on, yeah. So,
yeah.
what
That's
triggered you
true.
to go in 3D? Was it experimentation? Did you know from the start you want to do 3D?
Yeah,
How?
it was actually one of the tasks for my for my online class when we had to tackle on like a specific architectural design, and I wanted them to have like a more options for picking up different angle, and I just wanted to challenge myself just to do as accurate 3D version as I can,
Yeah,
and then solve some, you know, perspective or architectural aspects in 3D.
nice, awesome.
But I agree as with you, like you could do that in 2D as
Yeah,
well.
I
But
guess it
if you
will be
if
cool,
it's
like to
3D,
have like also, for example, like now an overview shot, right? Like for
yeah, if you
example,
open, for instance, the Skype, I sent you the files. Yeah, this one, the
yeah.
blockout. Yeah, so this is a blockout that I prepared for my students at Focal Point.
It's a,
Uh,
an advanced environment class, right?
Advanced environment, yeah. So this is actually the example of what you can get from the level designers during the production pipeline. You know, when you
Yeah.
work, for instance, on the game.
Where the layout is already
Exactly.
pre-designed
Pre-designed. Yeah,
by them.
pre-designed.
Yeah.
You can call pre-design. Of course, the buildings and architecture is not set there, but you are kind of restricted or limited to some degree in terms of like the scale of the buildings and the whole infrastructure of the of the nearby area. And I just wanted them to do. I just did very quick and rough sketch on top of the in class, and I just wanted them to make a final final concepts on top of those sorry, on top of those 3D layouts, so they also get like a different angles from me.
Yeah. Like this one here, right? This one was in class.
It's
And
yeah, but it's not very detailed, but it
no, it was
just
time
shows.
consuming. Like you managed to suggest a lot of detail in here, you know. That is sometimes
Yeah,
what's necessary. That's, you know.
yeah, it's just to flesh out the idea.
Yeah.
And whether you go with like a more if you go next, whether you go with like more realistic or more painterly style, it's up to you, but you have to still need to be accurate with what you are showing, right? So it's still not finished, but just suggest how you can even push 3D render into your own style, for instance, right? So if you want to go.
Looks very cool. I don't know which one is cooler, this one or this one. I think this one, because like there's like a sky suggested, and you know there's some
Yeah, it might be like a more deepened, like shadows and so
Yeah.
on, but the sketch is definitely was more informative, and it's still, of course, not finished. So I think it's like you can pick up you can see that you can pick up 3D and do and finalize it in different manner, in
Yeah.
different way, different style.
I think for pieces, exactly for pieces like this, right? Because you have a lot of elements, like every building has almost its own perspective. Like every building is slightly rotated. Doing this all in 2D will be a pain in the ass. Still doable.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree.
Still
Yeah.
doable when your fundamentals are like, mwah, super good and everything. But it is much faster when you just make 3D boxes like this. You drop like a simple sunlight in any renderer. In this case, it
Yeah.
was Octane, right?
Yes.
You have like already nice bounces, everything is like done for you. However, don't be again a slave to it. Still, you have to be, knowledgeable of, drawing, perspective, how lighting works, and then this will be a tool that creates the shortcuts for you necessary. I mean, what if during the production, you have to add on another building, and you don't have time to go in 3D, but you just rely purely on the fundamentals, and based on the lighting information, the perspective that you have, with strong fundamental and design skills, you'll be able to add, for example, architecture
Mhm.
onto it. So, yeah, it's a very good example. Um,
Yeah, we do it a lot in at Focal Point. I see that you also did in your advanced class, and we
yeah,
are going to do even
we're
more.
gonna do it even more, and it's also, of course, it's like good to know that we at Focal Point also like we sync up our classes, right? So you
Absolutely,
were
yeah,
using line drawing here, and people
yeah,
might be some may be confused with that. You in your environment class you'll be only making beautiful landscapes, but you're actually designing here,
yeah,
something that we kind of sync up each other in a class, because I focus on design, but I might present my vehicle also in a landscape where you're focusing more on that. But that's why we go for those full terms to
yeah.
make that sync seamlessly, and where knowledge fills each other, well, where the knowledge fills each other in, basically. Yeah, very good example here of how to use it. Anyway, I made like a small list. It's not like entirely, maybe necessary to do this, but I kind of want to do this for fun. In the end, I think 2D and 3D are tools that are both super needed. It's like, a dentist needs his own tool set, a plumber needs his own tool set, and every concept artist nowadays needs his brush, his pens, his Photoshop, and any 3D software that works the best according to somebody's wishes. I came up with 6 points: reliability, accuracy, design ability, artistic freedom, entry level presentation. So I'm gonna talk about, I guess, what I mean about reliability, and for the rest of the talk, kind of like talk with Darek about what we think and which one will get like the winning point. But be aware, it's not like a must. It's just, kind of like for fun. Um, so it's not like, the ultimate definitive answer of, who will win, because this is just how they should work seamlessly together, 2D and 3D. Reliability, what I mean by that is, how reliable is every tool, So Photoshop, for example, we all use, I guess, Photoshop for our 2D concepts, and 3D is kind of, there are many good softwares that are able to do it. So the first point about reliability is, which software tends to more crash, which software can you more rely on to work and not stress about any crashes. The other point about reliability is how reliable is a concept artist, I guess, by default when he is designing. Is a concept designer more reliable in 2D or in 3D? I guess we can only speak for ourselves, because I have good examples of concept artists that are great in only 2D, or are great and designing everything in 3D, or use a mismatch of both. What do you think about this one?
I totally agree. Like you cannot tell which is more reliable because it's a personal preference. So we have like 3D artists that are doing all designs in 3D and 2D that are still drawing on paper and they can still design things on paper. So
Yeah, exactly. In the end, if I would have to choose, I would still go for 2D. And the only reason is that I think every concept artist should start with 2D to have those drawing abilities down, perspective abilities down, your knowledge about render before you jump into more advanced aspect of, the concept spectrum, like 3D, rendering in 3D, photo bashing. So I'm gonna give this one,
I think you should add like two of them, like just one is like equal.
Okay, yeah,
But,
we can do that too.
So yeah, just 1 point,
So
like a draw.
does that mean? Yeah, I guess if you really want it, you can really, because it's a creative process. If you really think that you can hone everything down in 3D, go and do 3D only. But anyway, accuracy. Right off the bat, I would have to give this one to 3D in my personal opinion. You are able to make much more accurate concepts and designs in 3D, of course. You can rotate the camera, you can zoom in an infinite level. You are increasing basically the believability as well, because even when you're doing line arts, you can still kind of suggest things. But with 3D, your topology kind of has to work in order to give the shapes sense and proper definition. What is your take on it?
Yeah, I somehow agree. Yeah, because you can see things in 3D space from different angles, and this actually helps you when you, for instance, extrude one shape. You can see it already in multiple camera angles, and whilst you are sketching, you cannot do that. So this is definitely, yeah, I think point from me as well on accuracy in 3D.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just way more accurate. You can of course make super accurate 2D sketches, like I'm doing as well, but you can even increase the accuracy more when you're, for example, drawing on top of 3D blockouts, or make adjustments here and there. Design ability. So I want to mix in that with design speed, with your design sense. Again, for this one, I can tell, but that's one personal experience, and from what I've seen from other concept designers, especially if you want to be versatile, as we do, right? Because we really like all the aspects of design. We both like designing vehicles, environments, interiors. I think my design ability and your design ability as well, because I know you again for 35 years, is much better in 2D. We design our fast ideation outputs is really when we sketch, make comp sketches, etc. And then we go in 3D to clean it up, flash it down, add the detail, because we want it to be more accurate. But the hardcore design phase where we dynamically come up with ideas, I think that's 2D. I think you agree on that, or is there something you want to add?
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Yeah.
When it comes to what we do, usually it's definitely 2D. I'm kind of thinking like, what about like creature? If we were doing creature designs, but we can leave it for later since we are not familiar that much with that. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I guess creature design is. Some like another topic to talk about. Let's not dive.
We should actually dive it into that more.
Yeah, we should.
We will, because we'll have the guy this spring that will run a ZBrush class, and I'm pretty sure we will both attend, and yeah, I cannot wait
The
actually.
guy, just name him, the guy.
Yeah, Andrew and Champo, yeah, it's like
Yeah, amazing
it's
zebra
fucking great.
sculptor and amazing creature designer. So happy that we'll be having him. Yeah.
It's fucking great. Everyone who is interested in actually not only 2D but 3D or specifically sculpting or designing in 3D should sign up for this 3 days workshops. Definitely.
There you go. Commercials are still a thing, guys. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think it's a great addition to the arsenal. You know,
Yeah.
ZBrush is something beautiful. Just to keep it short. Yeah, artistic freedom. What I mean with that is in how many styles and executions can you know, present, I guess, your design. How open to suggestion is your, you know, your composition schedules, your vehicle designs, your level layouts. Again, I would go with 2D, but you know, I've seen doing people, you know, allowing themselves to create multiple styles
Yeah,
of concept
I
art
think
in
we
3D,
should give point here and here.
right? Yeah. Like for us personal, it would be of course 2D, but on a wider, I guess, spectrum, you know, as concept art as a whole, I guess, yeah, it could be both of them. And then entry level, which one is easier to pick up? Which tool is easier to pick up? What do you think, Darek?
It's actually not as easy as people might think. Of course, you can tell like, oh, we start drawing usually when we are a child and when you are children, and we should actually say yeah, it's 2D. But sometimes like the basics of 3D, with the tools that we have these days and how accessible they are, it's much easier. But I still think 2D is more basic when it comes to like even starting off, and definitely, you know, the first step that actually you should take if you are going to become a concept artist. So
Yeah, I'm thinking about that one, and I'm thinking about, you know, what I can compare it with. Do you remember how we sometimes make the comparison, you know, okay, so this is 2D, this is 3D. Let's compare that to, you know, someone that builds chairs and he uses, you know, traditional hammers and nails versus, you know, an automatic drill to make the holes and everything. If someone is good at the skill, then he will be able to, you know, pick up any tool and make the same result, right? But I still think that, you know, every chair builder.
I think this whole section entry level is kind of misguiding. I think somehow I don't, because there is like a different perspectives from different people, that how could they see what's more of like entry level, or how to enter at the beginning, which world. I think yeah, both basics are actually I would say very, very, very simple, but yeah, I think 2D is still what I call entry level, because even when you go into designing, and you can still by 3D, you can you know, improve your perspective skills or scale or lighting skills, but you start usually with drawing that beforehand, right? So
Yeah.
you know what to do, what to model later on in 3D. But I don't know. This section is kind of it maybe should be I don't know.
Cross
I
it
get
out. But let's put it that way. If you are a concept artist and you have, you know, only the basics, the basic tools, you know, then I guess, you know, pen and paper is a very easy entry level. Whereas when you start using 3D,
exactly.
then so
There
yeah,
is no point if they don't. They need, because the 3D is like, you have to understand one thing. When you go in 3D package and you have to you have to learn how to model things in 3D, there are specific principles that you have to understand first before being able to pick up the software.
Exactly, yeah, because this requires you to already think in 3D. It
Yeah,
requires you
exactly.
to already, think in perspective, think in shapes that, extract in your mind. Whereas this is an extension that, makes your life easier. So, I don't know, we're just gonna leave that out because we're wasting time here. Fuck it, Jesus. I didn't think one this through, I guess. Entry level, like pure entry level, pen and paper, when we start from the basics, yeah, sure, this one. But software now is also, 3D software is now being made in such a nice way that it is easy to get into, hard to master, I guess, right?
Yeah, kind of true. Yeah.
Presentation, I had this one already like set up in my mind. I see beautiful 2D final design presentations as well as final beautiful 3D renders that are also usually touched up in Photoshop, so in 2D media. But the presentation aspects, I think they're kind of both equal. Maybe there are advantages, but I guess see what it comes down to.
Yeah, there are advantages of one side that I think in 2D you can have much easier, I would say, get like the results that are more original, so you can juggle with styles. In 3D it is still possible, but having 3D style stand out from others is super hard, when you have like a 3D renders and everyone is using Keyshot or Octane, in the end it all looks the same, and you can just
that's a good point, actually. Yeah, I think that's right.
You can just differ guys from their design sensibility or shape language, or their subject, or their approach to specific things. But when it comes to presentation, you are kind of limited in 3D, I would say. You can still, get like a different results. You can get the renders that looks like Disney cartoon, but it will take much more time than in 2D.
Yeah, I totally agree on that one. So, in the end, what it comes down to, guys, your concept design journey will be the best if you use both of them. That is, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Really. It's like a supplement. It's like a supplement to each other. And
is 2D going to be forgotten? I really don't fucking think so. The dynamic ability to design for a concept design, your knowledge of how perspective and lighting works should be embedded in your system. Is 3D the one and only future? It is the future, not the only one. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I already heard that 3D is going to take over completely. I'm still sketching, everybody's still sketching, and we will continue to do so. We will be even sketching. That's what's beauty about the software. We don't know where it will go. Now we are able to sketch even in 3D, with grease pen, for example. So they are all tools. They will not help you to design better, but they will help you to design better, but they will not. For example, with 3D, it will not increase your design ability. You will have to use these tools, practice with them, to up your game with when it comes to making original and cool designs. So yeah,
true,
dude. Any closing statement? Stay away from drugs, don't drink too much alcohol, I don't know.
Yeah, get the fuck out and get back to work.
Wow, that's motivating. Alright guys, spring term is still open. We are in the last month. So yeah, this is the commercial section. Intro classes are completely booked. Advanced classes are still going on. So yeah, we're just dropping that information here. And other than that...
For more information, go to focalpointschool.com.
There you go. That was kind of like early 2000s style. I like that. When internet was new, go to, Now it's more like follow us on Instagram and stuff like that, right? Everyone wants to.
Yeah. It's getting there. Like the numbers for Focal Point are growing. It's slowly but steadily growing, and it's really interesting to see. And we really want it to grow as much. So because we really put the effort into that, and I think This school is special in many ways. So
Yeah.
if you guys are interested, don't hesitate to message us or send us an email or your portfolio for review if you want to join the school, or just basically straight away sign up. You will not regret. So
I think, I think that's safe to say. Join the public Facebook group where you can also talk to, former students, upcoming students, to, have, opinion from them as well. I think that's a smart thing to do. And other than that, I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.
bye bye.
Bye bye. Thanks, man.
Thanks. Bye bye.